Aloha, welcome back. So I haven't been as consistent lately, and we talked about it a couple videos ago. I've been trying to set up more interviews. I've had a couple interviews this week. Got several interviews set up. One tomorrow, I think one on Monday. Got a training on Tuesday that I'm going to record and put online. Got an interview on Wednesday and an interview on Thursday. So what's that? 4 interviews and the training. A lot of emails going back and forth, things like that. A lot of time setting them up, and I've had to do some things just to legitimize the Green Party run and all that. Still got more stuff to do next week. So the interviews are going to be my main focus right now because I just think that's more important. I want to get as many Green Party voices out there and just get as many voices out there as possible. They're not all going to be Green Party people, but it's going to be just people's voices, and that's what I'm all about. Here, we're going to talk about a video. Trump's tariffs ruined China's master plan. So this is a pretty far right, what do you call it, YouTube channel. It's called China Uncensored, and we're gonna check that out together. I've already watched it. I just about the exact opposite of what this guy thinks, and so we'll go over it together, and then we'll talk about it, or we'll talk about it as we go.
CCP wants to defend global trade. They're the ones who destroyed it in the first place. And I'll tell you exactly how they did it. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chaplin. YouTube has been trying to suppress China Uncensored and promote pro-CCP content, but we're fighting.
Now, where have you seen pro-China content on YouTube? I mean, if you live in the United States or anywhere in the West, you don't see that very much. Maybe if you live in China, but I don't know, maybe he lives in China.
Fighting back and winning. Join me in Operation Honeypot Phase 3. Leave a honeypot comment to show YouTube we've got engagement, and subscribe to
And leave me a comment to get engagement. Like, share, subscribe, all that stuff.
our free newsletter to subvert YouTube's
I don't have a
censorship.
newsletter yet,
The link
so.
is below. So, the Chinese Communist Party is freaking out about U.S. tariffs. They've launched a full-on propaganda blitz, calling the tariffs abuse and blackmail. And if anyone is an expert on abuse and blackmail, it's the CCP. The CCP is also claiming to be the defender of global trade. Yes, China is going to safeguard multilateralism and the multilateral trading system. And they totally are. I'm not being sarcastic here. They really...
We made videos on this channel about China wanting a multipolar world, but most other countries want a multipolar world rather than just the United States having a hegemony on the world, getting to say what we want and put our foot on everybody's neck. But more countries having more say is kind of what China's going at.
are. The CCP is going to fight for the current global trading system. It's not because they love international cooperation, which is just propaganda BS. It's because the CCP has spent decades manipulating global trade to their advantage.
And so again, we've gone over BRICS on this channel, and we've gone over the Belt and Road Initiative. China goes around the world building mega projects, building bridges, factories, refining plants, all kinds of things that they can't take outside of the country, right? Like they build it in other countries and leave it there and hope those countries, and they give them loans, and they even forgive the loans. A lot of times the places can't pay back and they forgive the loan. But China says they're doing this because they want a big open world of trade, that once all these places have ports and bridges and ways to move stuff around, that they can trade all their goods and everyone can have a nice free trade around the Belt and Road. But the way we go around, we go to Iraq, Afghanistan, and just spend trillions of dollars to destroy things. If we went around the world trying to compete with China on a building mission rather than we destroy while they build, imagine that. If we tried to compete with China and outbuild them and out Belt and Road them, what we could do. But he's talking about China going around the world.
So there's no way it's manipulating global trade to their advantage.
But wait a second. Doesn't everybody try to manipulate almost anything towards their advantage, if that's the way you want to look at it? When you find a new girl or guy or whoever you're trying to talk to, you're not necessarily manipulating them, but you're trying to get them to like you towards your advantage, right? Like anything you do could be considered manipulation if you're trying to get it towards your advantage, even if you're trying to get it towards somebody else's towards somebody else's advantage. If you're trying to change somebody's opinion or alter their opinion or even strengthen their opinion on something, you could call that manipulation. China's going around doing good deeds, and they're not like we're going around doing what I would call bad deeds. And we're manipulating people with economic hitmen. China's manipulating people with ports and railways and bridges and things like that. So, I mean, what kind of manipulation do you think the other people would prefer? Do you want war-style manipulation or infrastructure-style manipulation?
So there's no way they're going to let all that lying and cheating go to waste. Plus,
Or
global
building.
trade is basically the only thing keeping China's economy afloat. The CCP wants the world to believe that it's U.S. tariffs that are throwing a whatever this is into the gears of the world economy. But the truth is, it's the CCP that spent decades destroying the world economy. And in today's episode,
So the CCP has been the world's factory for decades. Nobody else wanted to produce things, so China said, we'll produce stuff. And while they're producing stuff, they brought millions, if not a couple billion people out of poverty. They built more rail in China than the rest of the world combined, I'm pretty sure, something like that. They've built huge megastructures all over Africa and Asia to connect people. They've connected cities that don't have any business, like, other than just meeting each other. Like, they don't have actual business, and they're not going to make money off it, but they make railroads and trains so that people can meet each other in China so that they can be more connected rather than disconnected. I mean, they're... Okay, I'm
I'll
just
show
talking.
you how they did it and why.
Let's see how they did it and why.
Thinking about going solar.
China is an export economy. That means their economy relies on manufacturing stuff for the rest of the world to buy. Chinese manufacturing exploded after China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001. Because China was able to make stuff more cheaply than other countries, consumers around the world benefited from lower prices on Chinese imports. But countries also lost tons of manufacturing jobs to China.
So create other jobs, create service jobs, pay coaches to teach kids, like coach kids, and pay after-school program teachers, pay weekend programs for kids, and pay for senior care, make school cheaper, or like it was in the 70s, much, much cheaper in the 60s, 70s, 50s, so that we have more, like, say, nurses, doctors, more healthcare providers. Let's provide the services now while somebody else is manufacturing the products. Why wouldn't that be the goal?
U.S. alone lost more than 2 million jobs between 1999 and 2011 as a result of Chinese imports. Now, besides manufacturing, the other big driver of China's recent economic growth was real estate investment, which became a problem after China's real estate market started to collapse in 2020. So, the CCP decided to double down on manufacturing. They pumped billions of dollars into building more factories and exporting more goods to keep China's economy from crashing, which did work. But now, China is making way more stuff than the rest of the world can buy.
So don't buy it. The prices go down, and then they either stop making stuff or they just keep making stuff and put it in a warehouse.
That's called overcapacity. How bad is it?
The United States stores away enough food every year to feed the entire world. Like, that overcapacity, we go overcapacity on all kinds of stuff, but undercapacity, we have more empty houses than homeless people. We're overcapacity on houses, but undercapacity on filling them. What? Make it make sense. That doesn't... These people.
Here's a chart from the U.S. Treasury Department showing supply and demand. If trade was healthy, the red and blue lines would be roughly the same. But the fact that the red lines are way above the blue shows that China is making way more batteries, solar panels, and electric vehicles than the rest of the world wants. And
Not more than the rest of the world wants, more than the rest of the world can use right now. China's preparing for the future. They got all these batteries, they're making all these cars, there's solar panels. How can you have too many solar panels? When people are ready, you just put them out. But they put them out in fields and make solar farms and all kinds of stuff. Just because China's now ahead of us and is mad about it. If China would have made this same report back in the 60s or 70s talking about the United States, oh, they're causing all this like pollution and making all this stuff that people don't need and wasting all this stuff, that would have been true. They don't seem to be wasting as much stuff as we used to waste. But to say they're building batteries and solar panels more than the world wants, isn't there a shortage of batteries right now, they say? And we need more solar panels. So the world just needs to catch up a little bit.
And because China has so much overcapacity, it also doesn't import much from other countries, which means China.
So the whole goal of Donald Trump's thing is so that we don't have to import much. So China's doing what we want to do, or what Donald Trump wants us to do, and this guy's mad about China doing it, but he's probably going to want us to do it too. Like what? Like I don't understand. Like if somebody's doing it and they're doing it well, why not do something different?
Now has a trade surplus of almost $1 trillion. That's more than any country's trade surplus in the past century, even adjusted for inflation. And China doesn't show signs of stopping. Its export volume is growing 3 times as fast as global trade. That's insane. So what happens when China exports more and more stuff? They have to cut prices to be able to sell it all, which means other countries lose even more jobs to China.
Sounds like this guy doesn't like capitalism very much. You're not very good with competition. If somebody can outcompete you, either outcompete them or maybe do something different. Like I said, go to service jobs, make different jobs. Why would we want to have factories in every single country in the world and have every country producing fidgets and widgets and even cars and bricks or whatever? If everybody got as good as China at producing things and we all overproduced, why would we want that? Let one country or a few people, however many it takes, let that many people produce for the world. Like what you have factories and machines and stuff, you don't need a one-for-one guy making, like one man fishing for one man. Now we got boats fishing for the cities or whatever. Why would we want every country to be like, say, not that we don't want people to be like China, but like why would we want every country to mass produce like China, everybody overproducing, and then every country's doing that? No one has no one to sell to now, and then we're all just stacking stuff up. That makes no sense. Change your thought process. There's other jobs, there's other ways to do things, there's other ways to produce. We don't all need to manufacture because it'd just be too much. If China's already manufacturing too much for the world, why would we want other people to manufacture also?
Industries shut down. There are now certain products you can only buy from China. And when those are critical things like medical supplies, that gives China massive political and economic.
And yes, there should be world redundancies. You should make medical supplies where if there's a cutoff like COVID, that you can still get your medical supplies like computer chips. There's probably other things too that I can't. Food, obviously, you want food produced locally. You still ship it around the world so that you can get things that you don't have in your local area. But produce enough food locally so that if there is a disaster or something like that, you can still have food. But yeah, you need things produced locally. But on the world stage, we're a connected world. We need to be connected and act like it.
Leverage on other countries. Remember when China stopped exporting medical goods during the early days of COVID? Yeah, that, but on an even bigger scale. That's why the Chinese Communist Party is fighting to maintain the global trading system. They dominate it, and without it, China's economy would fail, and their political control.
As the parent of advanced high-achieving.
But how did China get here? It's not just about cheap labor. The CCP has built an entire economic system to dominate global trade. Back when China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, they promised to follow rules to ensure fair trade practices.
Follow rules like we do.
To be fair to the CCP, something I never thought I'd say,
right.
They did make a bunch of economic reforms in order to get into the WTO. But after they joined, they violated the WTO rules repeatedly. They've been cheating the system for decades and largely getting away with it. You see, the WTO rules are set up to prevent government intervention that would artificially distort global trade. But
like giving Elon Musk billions of dollars a year? Like we give our companies all kinds of money and subsidies for them to do what they want to do, that doesn't affect global trade. Elon Musk and his Tesla, like, really?
In a communist system, it's government intervention all the way down. Last month, the Rhodium Group published a report called Far From Normal that looks at how China's state support distorts global trade. For a look at the CCP system, let's use a specific product as an example to make it easier to follow. Take honey production. Why? No particular reason. Here's how the CCP makes a product like honey more cheaply than other countries. First, they use direct government subsidies. They give money to industries they want to support.
As do we, like I just said.
99% of major Chinese companies listed on the stock exchange get government grants. 99%. In our example, farmers that
So if 99% of the companies on the stock exchange get government money, I bet they very rarely have crashes, and I bet they very rarely lose. Like, our stock market is going up and down right now. I bet theirs doesn't do that quite as much. I'm not a Chinese stock market expert, so don't quote me on that. Check it out, look it up, come back, leave it in the comments if you know something about it already. Leave it in the comments, tell me about it.
harvest honey or factories that process honey. The CCP also gives industries tax concessions, so honey producers might not pay any taxes. The CCP also uses
Our companies don't pay taxes. If you're a big company, like Apple and Facebook and all them, why is it okay when the capitalist United States does it, but it's cheating when the communist CCP does it?
below market finance. That means they would let honey producers borrow money at lower interest rates from state-owned banks, or state-owned banks would invest money in these companies without expecting much of a return on their investment.
The United States, very much the same. Very much the same for a much longer time. They wouldn't even give black people loans for a long time and only gave white people loans. That's very much choosing winners and losers, or what business can succeed. There's the way he makes it sound, it's like he's never heard of the United States or the West or anything else other than just China. Really?
And they also sell goods at below market prices to these industries. For example, selling cheap land to honey farmers, or providing
like the Land Grant Act that only helped certain people, and those weren't black people.
cheap electricity for honey processors. This industrial policy is incredibly effective for the CCP. It's how the CCP jump-started its entire electric vehicle industry. And they're now flooding the rest.
Imagine that, giving people the stuff you need to succeed, just like the Land Grant Act, colleges and stuff in America that helped a lot of people succeed. The CCP did it just now, 70 years later or so, and it helped people succeed. Let's learn from history, maybe.
Rest of the world with cheap EVs. Yes, these are all
Was that a
things that
Tesla?
other countries do too, but no one does them on the same scale as the CCP.
China is, how big is China? It's a few billion people, 2 to 3 billion people. No one's on really the scale of China other than India, right? Or maybe Russia, but I don't even think Russia, but I think maybe India, but still, China has a whole lot more people than most countries, so they're going to do stuff on a much larger scale than most countries.
In 2019, the CCP spent almost $250 billion on its industrial policy. That's massive.
And wouldn't that be nice if the United States spent that kind of money on our industrial policy, or say our service policy, and put it into, like I said, just adults coaching kids, football, basketball, baseball. You could have whole leagues from kindergarten all the way up through high school, or all the way up to high school, and then let the high school program take over or whatever. But let all kids participate and not have to charge the kids, but the government pays the coaches to coach the kids, and the kids get to either play for free or they only have to buy their equipment maybe, but something like that. We could have a program where, well, we taught all the adults to code or whatever. We taught them how to do something, but we put $250 billion into American citizens like the Chinese put into their citizens. What's wrong with that?
But it's not just industrial policy. There are also ways China's entire financial system distorts global trade. Like everything in China, the financial system is political. all banks in
Donald Trump and his tariffs, just all willy-nilly, show how U.S. policy affects global trade.
China are either state-owned or state-linked, so the CCP controls how they give out loans, which means
Elon Musk, anybody, everybody is state-linked. Every Facebook, what's his name? Not Bezos, but Bezos and Zuck. All these guys be talking to whoever the president is, be at their parties, be state-linked. Our whole government is ran by corporations, and they do what the corporations want and not what the people want.
state-owned banks give lots of loans to state-owned enterprises.
We have corporate-owned banks. We have a corporate-owned state. I'd rather the state own the stuff because the state is supposed to be for the people. At least we can run for state politics. We can get into that. But over here, if you try to start a business, you can't start a new Facebook. You can't start a new Apple. You can't start a small business of these big conglomerates that already got stuff taken over. They'll just buy you out. That's your whole hope. But over there, like, you go into the bigger company and you come in. It's like,
It controls how they give out loans.
yeah, the people control the state. Where here, the corporations control the state. I'd rather have the people run for the state, be in the state, and the state controls the corporations. Then you got Elon Musk and a few people who are giving money, like Jeff Bezos and all them. And now and Donald Trump is giving money. Now they run us. You got the few running the many, rather than the many running the few, or the many running us all.
Which means state-owned banks give lots of loans to state-owned enterprises, and to other companies the CCP wants to support. And if those companies can't pay them back, the banks just keep extending the loans.
So you don't go out of business. So say we had that kind of thing, and they just extend the loan, and you're like, there was a drought, there was a whatever kind of weather thing, or a fire, anything, stuff didn't grow, people didn't want it, whatever, and they're like, all right, well, we're just still gonna help you go. Wouldn't that sound nice? You didn't lose your property. They probably bought your potatoes and just shipped them somewhere or something like that. Like, otherwise over here you just go bankrupt and they take your house or your
Because
farm,
it's better
whatever
to
it is.
take the financial risk than to risk getting on the CCP's bad side. So the CCP's huge, and
Have you heard Donald Trump talk about the people on his bad side? And then when Joe Biden was in, Donald Trump was on Joe Biden's bad side. They tried to put him in jail. I mean, okay.
politicized financial system has resulted in an explosion of credit and of debt, and lots of companies are exporting Chinese goods even if they aren't actually profitable. What could go wrong? Wrong. There's lots of other stuff I could talk about here too, like
What?
how the CCP restricts China's market access and discriminates against foreign firms, but I think you get the picture.
What are tariffs? And what do we talk about China, Russia, the enemy all the time. Isn't that discrimination? Call people shithole countries? Isn't that discrimination? There's all kinds of discrimination we do. We discriminate against our own. I've been discriminated a lot of my life. So
Picture. The CCP's industrial policy and financial system is destroying the global trading system. More countries have stopped relying on the World Trade Organization to stop the CCP's unfair practices. Instead, they're putting their own tariffs.
why is it unfair? Because they outcompete everybody. It's not fair anymore. That's what capitalism is supposed to be about. Adjust. Do something else. If they're better than you at what they do, to do what they don't.
On Chinese goods, like Europe's tariffs on China's EVs, or President Trump's tariffs on.
We can't hang with their EVs, so we just say, oh, they can't come into our country. You know how much any U.S. citizen, how much we're missing out on because we can't get BYD in our country? Like, oh, freedom. We don't really have the freedom that they tell you that we have.
On China's everything. But in the past, the CCP has been able to get around a lot of tariffs. What I talked about before was the cheating part. Now, this is the lying.
Tariffs just mean you can't compete with somebody. Like, how we're the ones cheating, or the people putting the tariffs on are the ones cheating, or the ones that don't want to compete.
Part. It's called transshipment, where China transfers goods to a second country where the Made in China label is switched for another. This happens with a ton of Chinese products, including Chinese honey. The US has had anti-dumping tariffs on Chinese honey since 2001, so Chinese exporters have tried to get around it with what's called honey laundering. Yes, I'm not kidding. Chinese honey is shipped to countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore, India, Dubai, even the Bahamas, and then sent to the US to avoid tariffs. In some cases, the Chinese honey contains antibiotics that are illegal in the US. In other cases, it's been
I don't even understand what that would be. There's so much food in our country that is illegal in every other country that they won't even take our stuff, a lot of our food, especially Europe. But, okay.
diluted with rice syrup or ultra-filtered to disguise that it's from China. And guess what? Most imported
Ever buy wasabi? Just like that. It's all fake, I hear.
honey is used in processed foods. So you don't know if your Honey Nut Cheerios are really Honey Nut China-O's. But the point is,
Not
China
honey
has
from
been
China.
able to evade tariffs for years, which is why the Trump administration's new tariffs are aimed at those backdoor transshipment countries too. Yeah, everyone thought tariffing those remote islands full of penguins was dumb until now.
The
So
honey
that's how the
penguins.
CCP's industrial policy, their financial system, and their export system are all designed to manipulate global trade. They've kept China's economy.
That's what trade is about. Getting the best for yourself. You can call it manipulation if you're talking about the other person, but the United States, it's what all these tariffs are about. It's trying to get the best deal for us. It's trying to manipulate the economy or the global trade, right? Like, you're manipulating it. You're changing it. That's what you're saying China's trying to do for their people. Isn't that what a good country is supposed to do for their people?
Economy going while hurting other countries. Both advanced economies
And China doesn't go around hurting other countries. We go around starting wars and killing people. We go around hurting other countries. China builds infrastructure all over the place. Look up the Belt and Road. How can you say China goes around hurting countries? I don't know if this guy is from the United States or if he's in China or if he's in Europe, but if you're in any Western country, those Western countries go around hurting other countries pretty badly to spread democracy and Christianity and Westernism and whatever, capitalism. But how many wars has China started in the past 200 or 300 years? I mean, maybe 1,000 years ago. Okay, I don't know, but China's not hurting people like we are. Not anywhere close.
and developing economies are dealing with the fallout. But it's gotten so bad.
And then why are they still developing economies? In the past 200 years, 100 years, the U.S. has done so much. If we shared with the world, there would be no more developing economies. The entire world could be great. Like, if we shared with everybody and said, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? China's rails are so much better than ours. We started stuff a lot sooner than them, but I mean, they have grown much faster, and they grew much faster probably because they had the ability to look at what the United States had done for a while, right? And they could adjust and do things and see where we failed, and they could fail a lot faster and sooner and get further maybe. But had we included everybody at the very beginning of this American experiment, the world would be way better. Or even the Industrial Revolution, or just after slavery, say 1900, like, oh, black people are equal, fine, then everybody's equal, yay. And we included the world with all our stuff and treated everybody as equal, we'd be so much further along right now. But that we wanted to hold everybody down and tell everybody that we're better than them and you can't do certain things now that another country has broken the barrier and they're like, oh, well, we caught up and now we actually surpassed you. Now they're bad guys and now we're like, oh, well, they're manipulating things because we couldn't hold them down anymore. That's just a very narrow and shallow-minded view of it, I would say.
That the rest of the world has no choice but to fight back. Not just the US, but also Europe. And as a result, we may be watching the collapse of global free trade. And it's the CCP's fault. So what happens to China if this happens? Well, that's a whole nother episode. Let me know in the comments below if you want to see an episode on how China is running out of money. If you like this episode, Remember to subscribe to our free weekly newsletter so you can see all.
Trying to run out of money. I just actually noticed that I should have been in this box up here the whole time. I apologize, but at the very end, my bad. I'll try to do better next time. But yeah, I watched that video actually a few days ago. I wanted to watch it with you guys, bring it up. Like, America helps its robber barons. America helps its top notch or whatever. It's John Galt's, right, and make sure that they keep their money. But China seems to help out a lot more of their people, right? They have, say, less opportunity to start a new business, but you just kind of bring your ideas to their established places, and they take your ideas and you just move up in there. Like, if you're real good at what you do, you just move up real fast in there. Is what it seems like as the stuff that I watch. Rather than in the United States, you try to make a business and you just sell it to Facebook or sell it to Amazon, and then you're done. You don't move up. You don't give them more of your ideas and whatnot. And a lot of times you'll hold out some of your ideas so you can start another new business and sell that one, right? So different ways to look at it. I think China's more people friendly, more open to everyone. We're more business friendly, more the entrepreneur, the Elon Musks and John Galt of the people. But yeah, please comment if you like. Comment. Let me know what you think about this. Also, I've been doing a lot of interviews. Like I said at the beginning, check out my interviews. Go around through the just shoots. Bah. I'm always bad at ending. My bad. So just come check out Across the Spectrum as much as you can. Thank you. Aloha.